Muhammad something which is the Quran. So when you look at it, it looks like poetry, but it's not poetry. So then Allah challenged the kuffar. He said, if you can, you should bring something like the Quran. And they couldn't. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it a bit more easy for them. Allah said, you should bring one surah if you can. They couldn't. And up till this day, no person can do that. Because it is the Quran, subhanallah. So, but one of them tried, one of those people who was claiming to be prophet. His name is Musaylimat al-Kadhab. So Musaylimat al-Kadhab, he gathered his friends and he said, he said, I received something, some revelation. Then they said, what is it? He said, Allah told me, al-filu man-filu wa ma adraka man-filu, until the end. Subhanallah. One of the people that was there, he said, Ya Musaylama, you know that I know that you are lying. Yeah, it doesn't sound like the Quran. So subhanallah, when you look at the Quran, it's something which Allah said, if the human beings and the jinns will come together just to try to produce something like the Quran, they can never do it. So wallahi, this is the best book sent to the best messenger and revealed to the best nation, because Allah said, kuntum khayra ummah. Alhamdulillah, the ummah of the Prophet sallallahu Muhammad sallallahu, that the best of the ummah. So wallahi, anybody who memorizes the Quran, he has a great respect, he has a great position in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the Quran. So for the brother that wants to open this madrasa, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make things easy for him. But this is one of the best things to do, wallahi al-azim. Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in an authentic hadith, wallahi, the scholar said, even if this is the only hadith which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said regarding the benefit of teaching someone Quran, it's enough. He said, خيركم من تعلم القرآن وعلمه. So the best amongst you, subhanallah. You see, let's assume all of us here are good. So, but there is someone who is the best amongst the good people. So the best amongst you is someone who ta'allam al-Quran. He studied the Quran, he learned the Quran. وَعَلَّمَهُ, and then he taught others. He teaches others. So if you want to see the best of the best, you should see someone who studied the Quran and he's teaching other people the Quran. So wallahi, if this is the only hadith that we have, it's enough for this person who wants to open this academy. Wallahi, it's an honor for him. If this is the only thing that he will do in his life, wallahi, he's successful, because he's amongst the best. So back to those who want to study the Quran. The Quran is the like we said, is the best book ever sent down by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you memorize the Quran, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the Quran will come to Allah on the day of judgment to intercede, ash-shafa'ah, for the people who memorized it. So the Quran will say, Ya Allah, he used to recite, like he used to recite the Quran. So Ya Allah, give me the chance, give me the opportunity to intercede for him. Ash-shafa'ah. So intercession means someone is going to hellfire. Then something will come, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give the Quran the opportunity, the ability to intercede for him, and he will take him to Jannah. And when he goes into Jannah, subhanallah, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah will tell someone who memorized the Quran, Ya Qari al-Quran, where are you? Ashab al-Quran. And they will come. Each person, Allah will tell him, Iqra. You should read the Quran, just like you used to read in the dunya. So as we all know, there are different levels in Jannah. So the best level in Jannah is Firdaus. Allah would say, you should read. The Prophet ﷺ said, when he reads one ayah, his position will be taken 1 degree higher. So the more you memorize, the higher your level will be. So subhanallah, if you memorize the whole Quran, it means you will be at the highest level. Al-Firdaus al-A'la min al-Jannah. That's why some scholars, wallahu a'lam, some scholars said there are as many levels in Jannah as there are number of verses in the Quran. Meaning, if you want to know how many levels are there in Jannah, you should count the number of ayahs in the Quran. You have 6,000 and something verses. So they said that is the level of Jannah. Because why? They said this is the proof of this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, in which the person who memorizes, the person who reads the Quran, he will be asked to recite. So the more he recites, the higher he will go. So they said someone who memorizes the Quran, it means he will go to the highest level. So that is their fiqh. So Allahu Alam, how many levels are there? Allahu Alam. But definitely someone who memorizes the Quran will be at the topmost level, which is Al-Firdaus. And the Prophet ﷺ said there is no place like Firdaus. The best of all Jannah is Firdaus. You know, the Arabs, they have this saying, they said, Al-Jaru qabla al-Dar. So if you want to buy a house, you know, you look at the neighborhood. Who are my neighbors, you know? If it's, for example, you know, in the neighborhoods where you have all the ministers and all the, you know, the governors and the president, then that house is nice. So, subhanAllah, in Firdaus, who are your neighbors? Maybe on the right hand side is Musa alayhi salam, and Ibrahim, and Sayyidina Abu Bakr, and Umar, and Muhammad sallallahu. So, you know, these are your neighbors. So this is Firdaus, the highest level of Jannah. So the Prophet ﷺ said, on top of Firdaus is the Al-Arsh of Ar-Rahman. So subhanAllah, wallahi, someone who's memorized the Quran, these are some of the benefits of memorizing the Quran. And the Prophet ﷺ said again in another hadith, a person who memorized the Quran, he said his parents will be brought on the Day of Judgment, and they will be put 2 crowns, subhanAllah, one for the mother and one for the father. So this is because it's not only him, but also the parents. So because of him, because he memorized the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not only honor him, but he will honor the parents as well. So wallahi, anybody who memorizes the Quran, anybody who dedicates his time to the study of the Quran, wallahi, it's amongst the best people in the sight of Allah. So wallahi, this institute, it's one of the best things that a person can do. Because look at it this way. You have an institute, you teach people Quran. Let's assume you have 10 people who have memorized the Quran. So those 10 people, don't forget that they're not just going to stay there. They will go and teach others, subhanAllah. So before you know it, how many thousands or millions of people will learn from your students? So this is a perfect example of sadaqatun jariyah. The Prophet ﷺ said, when a person dies, in qata'a amalu, you know, his deeds will be cut off. Khalas, you know, his file is closed, his account will be shut down because he's dead. He said, illa min thalathin, except through 3 channels. One of them is, he said, aw ilmun yuntafa'u bihi. You have left behind some knowledge. Maybe you published a book, or you taught somebody how to pray, for example, or you taught someone how to read the Quran, subhanAllah. Or somebody was a student and he memorized the Quran from you. Though, whenever he reads the Quran, because you taught him how to read the Quran, wallahi, whenever he reads the Quran, if he gets 1 million rewards, Allah will give you 1 million rewards, even though you are there in your grave, subhanAllah. This is the best form of insurance that you can have. So, when you have this institute, you have 10 people who have graduated from that institute, subhanAllah, and they go and teach 10 other people, and you know, it will keep on multiplying. Wallahi, if at the end of the day you have 1 million people who have benefited from one of your students, you will get the same number of rewards, subhanAllah. So wallahi, it's not something, you know, to joke around with. We're talking about a person's akhirah. You know, so a person, when he starts having kids, he'll start planning for them, you know, for their future, you know, for the schools, everything about them. But this is our akhirah we're talking about. So we do some things. I mean, we do things when we're alive, and if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts it, we get reward. So have you ever thought of, you know, what if at some point I die? Subhanallah. So it means the supply of ajr, you know, the rewards will stop coming in. So why don't I do something that will, you know, make my account functioning, even though I'm dead? So wallahi, this is one of the best things to do, one of the best ways, wallahi, to keep your account up and running, even after your death. So wallahi, the idea of opening an ma'ahad and institute, to teach kids Quran, wallahi, it's a very very good idea. So advice, wallahi, if you're asking for advice, I would say, let's not make the same mistake that my people did back home, because they only concentrated on the Quran. So it's very important. You don't teach them the Quran only, teach them the basics of the deen. Teach them especially Tawheed. Who is Allah? Because Tawheed is the difference between a Muslim and a non-Muslim. So at the same time you're teaching them the Quran, don't just concentrate on the Quran. Teach them other things, how to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fiqh, hadith, teach them Tawheed. It's very, very important. So this is actually what I will say. So don't just teach them the Quran. Don't just concentrate on the Quran. So it's good to have dreams actually. So even though maybe he doesn't have the ability to make it that big, but at least he started something. He's the pioneer. Allahu Akbar. So a very very good advice that I would like to give is, when he starts this thing, he shouldn't make okay. He shouldn't emphasize on the fact that he has to see it yield fruits. For example, you're building a house. Your aim might be to build the house and finish the house. So this is something, actually it should be something for the long run. So he might not finish it, but he has his goals. He wants to achieve his goals. So it shouldn't discourage him. He should lay a very very solid foundation. Wallahi, if he's the pioneer, if he lays the foundation, even after he dies and someone comes and builds on that, wallahi, you'll get the same the same idea. So it should be something for the long run. Not just a few years, but it should be something for the long run, for a long term. It should be a long term plan. So that maybe even after him, his children or his grandchildren will continue with that, or any other person who continues with that, wallahi, he will get the same number of ajr, because he was the pioneer. He is the one who initiated the project. So Allahu Alam. Wallahi, this is all that I can say. I think I've taken most of the time.
Okay. So thank you very much for your time. So may Allah bless you.
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this institute ma'ahad a success, inshallah. So wallahi, it's one of the things actually that the ummah needs, because subhanallah, the ummah is really is in need of people who will tell them the truth, actually. People who have knowledge, and they will convey the knowledge to others. SubhanAllah, sometimes you'll see someone 60 years, 40 years, he cannot even recite that Fatiha. So wallahi, it should be a long-term plan, just like I said, and if possible, maybe in the long run, if he's going to put in maybe other things, like the Western education, maybe computer, something, just because we need those people as a Muslim ummah. So we've all got to come together in order to move the ummah forward. This one studied the Quran, this one studied the fiqh, this one studied engineering, this one studied medicine. So for us to move the ummah forward, we need everyone. That's why it's very important to have division of labor. So because if you look at the time of the companions, subhanallah, very very good analogy one of the sheikhs was given. If you look at the time of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, you look at the companions, you'll see that each and every one of them has excelled in his own field. So when you talk about knowledge and knowledge of the Quran, you have people like Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, you have people like Abdullah ibn Abbas. So when you talk about the knowledge of fiqh, you have people like Abdullah ibn Umar. When you talk about knowledge of hadith, you have Ibn Umar, you have Abu Hurairah. So when you talk about people who contribute with their money, with their wealth, you have the likes of Uthman ibn Affan, you have the likes of Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. So you have the likes of again Abdurrahman ibn Auf. So you have them. So but when you talk about physical strength, in the battlefield, then you talk about Sayyidina Ali, you talk about Khalid ibn Walid. So all this, so when each and every one of those, he has his role to play. So for the the ummah moved forward because all of them joined heads together.